The grand staff. Next, we will discuss the grand staff, a theoretical staff consisting of 11 lines. Now watch what happens when we eliminate the middle line. We end up with 2 irregular staffs. And by adding a treble clef to the top staff and a bass clef to the bottom staff, we can see the relationship between the 2 staffs. Notice how the 2 clefs are joined by the C. This C is commonly called middle C, since it corresponds to the middle staff line on the grand staff. The treble clef and the bass clef can be joined together by a brace. A brace consists of a straight line, this one here, and a curved line, the one over here. So this is called a brace. You will see this especially in music written for piano and in other places. Now we have added the notes that we talked about in the lessons earlier. You see that this note row going up here, and the note that's being colored red is the middle C. And you see the small ledger line that we talked about over here, which goes through the middle C. Now let's listen to how this row sounds. And there you have it, all the notes that we have talked about in the bass clef and the treble clef. So in the end of this lesson, let's recap a little bit about the note names. We talked about some tricks to remember the note names of treble clef and bass clef. Here we have put the names of the notes inside of them. So you can see this is an F, a G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and we're up to the middle C. Here we start off in treble clef, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Now we're not using any ledger lines except for here now, but of course above this treble staff here and below this bass clef here, you can use and add more names with ledger lines. Let's talk more about ledger lines. We've already mentioned the middle C on the grand staff, but let's have a closer look at the ledger lines above the treble clef. Here we have the notes from the note C in treble clef, and we go all the way up to E here. So this we know, and this is the first ledger line from G, the note G, up to A. And as you noticed, A has a short line through itself. Well, the next note following the alphabet is B, and the B goes on the top of this first ledger line. And then we have the C. It has 2 ledger lines. And really what's going on here is that the lines are just going up, but we don't write out the whole line, we just write out a short portion of it. So the C is on the second ledger line, and therefore the D is on the top of the second ledger line, and the E just follows after that with one more ledger line. So F will be on top here, and so on. So you get the general idea about the ledger lines above the treble clef. It's just like the staff is going on. It continues going up, but we don't write out all the lines. We just put in these short lines that are the ledger lines. Let's listen to how these notes sound up here. These are pretty high notes. Let's take a listen. Let's turn our attention to the bass clef. Very often we will find ledger lines below the bass clef. Let's have a look at that. Now here we have notes that we've seen before. This is C, we're in bass clef, remember. B, A, G, F, and then we have the first ledger line below. This is exactly the same system as we looked at in the treble clef, going up, but in this case the notes are going down. So we go from F to E with one ledger line, and from E down to D where the note goes under the ledger line, and then the C, which lands on the second ledger line, and the B, who goes under the second ledger line, and finally down to A, where we have three ledger lines, and there are more notes below here, and they simply apply to the same systematic approach of ledger lines. But this is as far as our example goes. But if you go below here, you just add more ledger lines, and we always go backwards the alphabet because we're going down. If a note row is going up, we go forward in the alphabet. So these notes are pretty deep. Let's take a listen to this example. And before we close this lesson on the grand staff, let's remind ourselves a little bit on the trick that we used in the last lesson. You remember that we, in the bass clef, we could use good, boys, do, fine, always. And for the spaces in bass clef, we can use A, C, E, G. All cows eat grass. It's kind of easy to remember. Then in the treble clef, you remember that we use the sentence, every good boy does fine, and for the spaces, every good boy does fine is for the lines, and for the spaces we have the very comfortable word to remember, which is simply F-A-C-E, or the word face.